Hang on, I'm just putting something on here. I meant to show a little caption of today's topic. There it is. Afraid of having too many children. Oh, I remember in the early years, as a new wife, I celebrate 20 years this month. We married in the spring 20 years ago. It was supposed to be super warm. So I had an outdoor wedding and it ended up being an absolutely freezing day. It almost snowed in an outdoor wedding. Yeah, really glad my mom suggested we make little decorative shawls because we were clinging to those little decorative shawls. Anyway, off topic, let's stay with it. Afraid of having too many children in the early years of my marriage. Yeah, I just assumed, of course, we're going to have children because I was a young Christian and children are a blessing from the Lord, and everybody gets married and has kids, and a couple of kids anyway. And our pastor had asked us in our premarital counseling, this is a church years back, and I mean, I remember we were so excited, planning for the wedding. And then what's after the wedding is the till death we part and being husband and wife and having sex and that's how you make babies. And after love comes marriage and then comes baby in the baby carriage. So he asked us, how many children are you having? And just, yeah, we talked about it. My husband comes from a family of 3 and I come from a family of 4. And one adopted sibling. So we're like, yeah, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 is good. I mean, it's a very generous contribution to the human race. And sounds like about all I think I can manage. I mean, we didn't necessarily say that to our pastor, but we talked about that privately. And so our magic number at the time was 4. 4 was upper limit. Anything after that, it didn't even occur to us to consider. And long story short, God totally hit us upside the head, the heart, with a 2x4, so to speak, a couple years into our marriage when we had 3 children under 2, because we had twins. When my firstborn little girl, who's now 17, was just a little 2-year-old. And then 2 months after she turned 2, we had twin boys. So all of a sudden, I'm in the thick of it. 3 kids under 2. And because we had a girl and 2 little boys, everybody, and we were on a missionary training campus at the time in the States, I'm in Canada, everybody from the nurses in the hospital before we even left to, retired missionaries on campus to all of our friends. We were in our 20s, in our I was 28 at the time, and people would come up to us just, oh, babies, you're cute. Admire the babies, double baby carriage. So cute, right? Twin boys, fraternal. And it became almost predictable where I could count down a matter of seconds between them saying, oh, they're so cute. How are you feeling? And then would come the next question. Are you done? And sometimes it'd be in a different tone, but it was always the same question. So you're done, right? And I began to feel this pressure, well, I mean, you said 3 or 4, and I guess I should be done. And all of a sudden, this whirlwind of questions and doubt came into me, but something completely new came into my heart, came into my mind. And I was so overwhelmed by the prospect that I didn't even talk to my husband about it for 5 whole months. I was just that scared. I was like, this isn't happening. If I don't talk about it with anybody, then it's not really happening. I'm just being crazy. I'm overanalyzing. And it was this thought, what if we didn't stop? And I was like, that can't be from God. That's crazy. That's irresponsible. I've had 2 C-sections now, and it was a very much possibility that if I never had a successful VBAC, try as I may have a lifetime of C-sections. You can only have 3, right? Because something your guts will fall out. All these questions started just absolutely popcorning in my heart and my soul. And I just clamped that down so fast through suppression. I mean, just don't think about it. This isn't happening. So I was experiencing all kinds of fear with even the idea, and I wasn't talking to anybody. Nobody was talking to me. I saw maybe 2 other families that had more than a minivan worth of children in this niche bubble Christian missionary, tiny, 100-student campus community. I didn't know anybody had more kids. And I thought, well, that's just crazy, irresponsible. Who could afford that? Nobody would ever support a missionary family that big, et cetera, so forth. I had all my reasons lined up. And yet, God in his grace, like the hound of heaven, was chasing me down. And I came to a point where I was like, I think this is God, and I'm being like Jonah. So I'm going to talk to you today, short and sweet, from the heart, that if you're afraid to have too many children, first of all, I get it. And there's grace to be in that space of I don't even want to talk about this, because if this goes where it could go, because it's like yes or no, basically, I'm terrified. I lose myself. You start to unpack a little bit more, like what you're really scared of. And I did. God took me to that place finally, was like, you're terrified, Tara. And God does not give us that kind of spirit of fear, right? He gives us a spirit of love, of power, and a sound mind. He hasn't given us that spirit of fear, right? Fear comes with punishment. And I thought it was going to be hell on earth. When I really got curious and began to just sort of step back just for a second from the tornado of emotions that all those fears were stimulating, and I just started to get curious, almost objectively, for just for a split second, in the quietness of my heart. Nobody even knew it was happening, just me and God. I wasn't journaling. I was nothing. There was no record that this was happening. But God knew, and I got curious just for a second. And this is what I encourage you to do, that if you are terrified by the idea of having one more child, or just hands off, right, and trusting God with the spacing, the timing, and all of the logistics that come with a larger than average family, right? If you're going to max out a minivan and beyond, we're on a 15 passenger right now. I have 11 children. I just had baby number 11 a couple months ago. And I've had to go through grappling with my own fear pretty much every single time. But the first time was the big time, because I just had no framework, no one to talk to, no biblical grounding, and all my stuff came to the surface in a heartbeat as soon as God suggested. Because remember, no human suggested this. It was really the like internal spirit level. What if we didn't stop? AKA, what if we trusted God? Like, what if children really are a blessing from the Lord? What if we really are, as the human race, designed to be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and that's actually good? It's not a curse. Like, what if? So what I did, and no credit to me, what God led me to do, and what I would encourage you to do, in the quietness of your heart, just step aside for a moment, close the door, go to the bathroom, like, just get a moment. 3 kids under 2. Take a couple deep breaths and just be still before the Lord and start asking questions. And question number 1 that I asked is this: what am I so scared of? Because clearly I was scared. Like, my whole body was responding to a massive stress response, bracing for impact with just the idea, right? Heart palpitating, dry throat, sick stomach, like intense physical response to impending doom. So it was a clue, kind of like, a light on the dashboard. There's something to explore here. Like, open up the hood, get curious, and see what's on the other side. And I was scared to see what was on the other side. I was scared that this might lead to a yes, I'm going to trust God, and I'm scared of what's on the other side. But I knew deep down that God is good, and if He's leading me into something that is countercultural, I've never seen done, I don't know how that would work out. My brain, like my logical, rational self, says there's no way that could work out. There's no way you could afford that. We had no visible form of income. How is that all going to work out? How will we ever afford all those the reasonable, valid questions? But I was using them as excuses to not get curious and go through the layers of my own fears to get to the real core issue for me. And I think it's different for every person, because we all have different backgrounds, we have different lives, we have different core beliefs that are deep down, that really, kind of like the rudder in a ship, tend to drive us throughout the day. And when you're just making meals and changing diapers, you're not really thinking about your deep core beliefs that drive your everyday decisions, right down to the minutia of simple decisions. But they're there. And if you'll sort of step away, or maybe, when you're nursing the baby, or you just have a quieter moment, or get up in the morning, and if you're in that high level state of fear and it's just getting higher and higher, and you're having a hard time just even coping with the idea of getting pregnant again, or pregnant till menopause do we part, you know what I mean? Till menopause is this over, barring major medical serious stuff, different talk, different day. Okay, but assuming there's no medical reason, a mental health level, serious stuff, trusting God with the size of your family. If you're terrified, get curious. And what I did is I just explored and said, and I just got curious, step back from myself and my fear just for a split second, and literally, just like I was having a talk with myself, I talked to myself. I'm just gonna be honest. It's one of the most wonderful things that I do. I have great conversations. Maybe that's why it's so easy to talk to a laptop, but I know I'm talking to real people on the other side. 4 of you are here live. So awesome. Joining me in the chat. I'll just pop into the chat for at the end. I'm just going to stay on focus. And I asked myself, Tara, what are you so scared of? Like, clearly you're scared. Like you would to a bestie, right? If they sat down with you and they were just like a bundle of nerves, be like, hey, girl, what's going on? What are you, you're scared? What are you so scared of? And I just went back and forth like with myself. And you could do this too. You could write it out if that's easier, journaling. And I was like, well, I'm scared of having more children. Okay. Why are you scared of having more children? I'm like, because like, how are we going to afford that? And I just sort of listing them out in my mind at work, but it might be easier to write it out. I've had 2 C-sections, like I just shared. That was a personal thing for me. It doesn't apply to everybody. It certainly applied to me. And we have no visible form of me. And I just started writing them out. And as I was getting them out of me, right, rather than holding it all in, it was really very prayerful. It's like I was bringing it before the Lord, all my shattered pieces, all of my fears, all of my mess, all of my hot mess. And I could just feel his smile and be like, I know, I know, I know. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And it just step by step as I faced my fears, and then I started to get to the heart fears, like the deepest fears of all. And for me, it might be different for you. I was just so scared that my life would suck, that I'd hate it. I'd hate being a stay-at-home mom because that's all I would ever be. That's all I would ever do. I would just change diapers and make lunches and keep the laundry going and be like this hidden woman with this huge heart and so much to give and so much to shine. And I was put on this earth to just be a cow. Oh, God showed me that I had a lot of like very low ideas, very small ideas that motherhood would be a curse. And that, I mean, there's a whole journey of how that got there. And then God, because now it was in the light, right? And I could see it, then we could begin to deal with it. And then I could begin to, was it true? If I trust you, God, on this road, is my life going to suck? I mean, sure, you can provide money. You own the cattle on 1,000 hills. But will I hate it? And then my kids will pick that up and they'll hate their lives and they'll hate me and they'll hate you. And it's just be a life of hate and sadness and resentment. That was my core fear. And it took me a process to get there. And honestly, it took a matter of minutes once I was willing to go there. I waited 5 months to go there. I was just hoping it would go away, that I was just making it all up. When I got curious and I just faced God, right? Because in his light, we see light, the word says. It was so liberating. I'm going to continue this talk on Thursday because I want to share with you what happened on the other side of that. Because, once I did cross that bridge of fear and then trust God with all the logistics on the other side, the money, the vehicle, where we were going to live, dealing with other people's opinions, because now we were that crazy family. And that's been a journey too. And fear has come up, like I said, again. But because I had that first experience of getting curious, it became easier the next time because I had a strategy, right? I had something I could do, something I could do in the face of something very overwhelming. So if you're struggling with the fear of having any more children, right? Or just trusting God straight up till menopause, barring major medical circumstances, I'm going to invite you 2 things, 2 actions I'll give you to take if you want to. Totally no pressure, but just so you know they're there. One, I have linked in this video, Big Family Heart. It's a free mini course. It's 2 hours or less, short little videos where I really dive into this more deeply. I actually give you like scriptures you can look at, some actual worksheets you can work through that I really unpack this story more fully because there's more to it like any great story. And I'm going to give you very practical resources that you can use in the quietness of your heart on your own schedule, just to take the time, the short time really, to address the fear. And then if we don't end up agreeing on every point, that's totally okay. But it's a resource available to you completely for free to share with you the journey, the process, the step-by-steps that I took because I had nobody to talk to. And I just wanted to pay it forward and put out there, making available to other big family moms who have, 3 kids that are 2, or maybe you have 8 and you're just dealing with this now. That's there for you. It's my gift to you. Go ahead and grab it. Link below, Big Family Heart. Just walking alongside you graciously to help you process fear of having more children. And I believe that really is the heart issue, because once, like I said, once you've dealt with fear before the Lord and you're free from that just crippling, overwhelmed fear, then you can begin to deal with like logistics. Okay, how do I do this big family home stuff? And it just gets so much easier. Wind in your sails easier. So I remember when I said it was number 2, there's also free group available, free community here in Facebook of all crazy places called Big Family Moms. It's a community I created. It's growing very quickly as now the word's getting out. People are finding there's a space on the internet for big family moms where we're not going to be judging each other. We can ask questions just like simple questions, maybe about homeschool. For a lot of us tend to homeschool, but not everybody. We can talk that. We can talk about logistics. We can talk about just simple things like vehicles and laundry machines. We can also talk about heart stuff. So it's a beautiful community of conversation and support, of just some laughter, some tears, some prayer, just a space where we can be big family moms and learn from each other, especially a lot of us who've gone a couple years ahead and now have the benefit of experience to share with other big family moms. So that is available to you. I just wanted you to know I'm going to continue this talk on Thursday when I go live again to talk a little bit more about what happened next. So you can have support, strategy, tips, advice, just stuff that you can use right now as a big family mom, wherever you're at, especially if your heart is a hot mess and you're really struggling with fear of the next pregnancy and whatever that looks like for you. So I'm going to wrap it up here. A little longer than I meant to, but my heart is so full of wanting to help you in a way that I wish I'd had someone to talk to at the time. So my heart is to be that person to you and to point you to, like I said, a free course and a whole community of other women to help you in your own journey and to do it with grace and with love and with skill. So that's it. I'm going to just hop into the chat real quick because I can see some people talking. Look at that. Too many children equals too many blessings. Oh, I love that. Amen. Oh, awesome. Good morning, Cindy. Let me just pop up in the way. Am I on Instagram too? I was before Christmas when I had Corey, baby number 11. So I have a profile, but I'm not really working it. I just simplified things after I had baby number 11 for so many reasons. Just, to give myself grace. It was C-section number 10. And I felt that running two social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram, for me at the same time, I was like, I'm going to wait till I get a VA, honestly. And then I can see myself considering other social media platforms. So yeah, just Facebook, like I said, is growing fast. The community is growing. People are finding it, finding a lot of value. Just like, oh my gosh, this group custom designed for me. So feel free to check it out if you're not already in Big Family Moms. And that's enough. That's enough for me to administrate right now. So, but if I do decide to sort of reignite my Instagram profile, I'll be sure to let everyone in the group know. So that's that for now. Good to connect with you today. I'll talk to you later.